Yeah, just watching it. And so, yeah, just like what you do on a daily basis when you woke up every morning. Like, what was your day composed of usually?
Okay. When I was out on a mission,
We were, as I mentioned earlier, we were recon, reconnaissance, which meant you went out and looked for the enemy, you looked for trouble, you tried to find it, and then you would call in bigger units to come in and try to take care of it. Almost always we found trouble,
Yeah.
and we met it before anybody else could come in.
Yeah. Sure.
Our unit was about 25 guys that traveled around, and we traveled for about 2 to 3 weeks at a time. We had to carry enough food for 2 to 3 weeks, so everything was really lightweight.
Yeah.
And you mixed water with it, all that good stuff. But we'd get up every day, and sometimes we would travel down streams. Sometimes we traveled down trails. We tried not to go down trails that were already well worn because they were often booby trapped.
Yeah.
For the enemy. So sometimes we'd have to take machetes and cut a whole new trail to make sure that we were safe.
Jeez.
But every day we'd spend anywhere from early in the morning till late at night, around 5 o'clock or so. We would spend time just looking for signs of the enemy, and then we would set up tents. We weren't allowed to set up a tent per se. We'd sleep out on the ground on a poncho, with a little poncho lighter to wrap up in. If you set up a tent, that would give away your position.
Yeah.
So you had to stay really close to the ground.
Wow.
It rained almost every night, so it meant you spent the rest of the next day drying out, and then often by the time you were ready to set up again for camp, it would start raining again, so you get soaked again. So it was, it was just and we weren't allowed to talk to anybody all day long. So it was
Not even your personal people in your
no,
group?
because
What do you call it?
talking could your fellow soldier there, it could give you away, and so you could whisper on occasion.
Real quiet.
But you just had to be quiet all the time, and so you couldn't talk to anybody for the longest period of time, because you didn't want to give away your position.
Yeah. At night, were they did you not have fires or anything either? Then?
No fires, nothing like that to keep warm. And it got cold at night.
Yeah, sure.
It got
Especially
really
when
hot
it's
during the day and humid, and really cold at night. But no fires, because that could give away your position. Even some of the guys who smoke,
Yeah.
that could give away your position if they could see a cigarette from a distance.
All right. So backing it up a little bit, what was boot camp like? Like how long were you there? Kind of what's boot camp composed of before pre-war, I guess?
Okay. Yeah, boot camp, Corey was, I was in Louisiana, and it was in what was called like a little Vietnam.
Yeah.
And so it was really hot and humid and everything else. But we were down in Louisiana and at Fort Polk, and it was 8 weeks long, and every day it involved exercising, getting in shape, sometimes at 3 in the morning, going out and running for 2 or 3 miles and going to have breakfast. And then then we'd after breakfast we would go to classes, learning how to use a weapon. We'd learn how to do combat. We learned how to survive out in the field, and we'd go do practice exercises. We'd go to firing ranges and learn how to fire a weapon, how to clean them, how to put them back together, take them apart, put them back together. I was a medic, so I didn't do this in boot camp, but I had another 8 weeks of training just to learn to be a medic.
Yeah.
And so there I had to learn how to patch people up, do surgery, it was mainly advanced first aid, and so I had to be like a first responder today, an ambulance who comes and does CPR and all that kind of thing.
So are you technically a doctor, or are you just kind of?
No, I would be more like a first responder with an ambulance.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. All right. So did you ever see it obviously you've seen combat, but are there some real memorable experiences that you ever recall? Any real ones that stand out, I guess?
Oh, yeah, there were quite a few. Corey, and being a medic, the lifespan of a medic in Vietnam was usually about 2 to 3 minutes.
Oh boy.
When you were in combat.
Yeah.
And that's because where a person just got wounded or shot or something like that, you had to go right up where they just got shot or wounded.
That's crazy.
It was like, oh man, who wants to go there?
Right.
And but I would usually crawl up to where they were and just work with them. But that, one of the most memorable times, so many of them. One was a time where the guy get across this bridge. The rocks were really algae covered, and as a result, my boots started slipping, and I started slipping down over this waterfall. My backpack caught on the edge of a jagged rock, and my feet were out there, and down was 30 feet.
My God.
I was.
That's so scary.
That was one of my first days in Vietnam,
my
and I thought, how am I ever going to survive a whole year of this? But anyway, that was my first, and an African American buddy of mine came over. He was a big strapping guy, and he helped pull me up off of the rocks, get me over to the other side, and then we had to climb this hill to go to our destination so we could get communication. And so he had to carry my backpack plus his and help me get up the hill because I was just totally wiped up.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Two other quick little experiences.
Take your time.
One was a nighttime experience, and when you're come to the enemy at nighttime. And so what they would do, so that we could see where they were, sometimes they'd come, they would find us and then start firing and this type of thing. So we would shoot up flares into the air so we could hopefully scare them off, but also see where they were. And it was pitch black. I mean, the nights were really dark. No street lights or anything like that in the jungle-like atmosphere. And so what we had to do, we had to go looking for them. Once we had made contact, we had to go looking for them. Otherwise, they'd find us and do us in.
Sure.
So it was so dark you couldn't see the guy in front of you. And in order for us to stay together, I literally had to hang onto the belt loop of the guy in front of me, and the guy behind me held on my back belt loop. And we just had to keep going, and we had to cut a path through all this brush and briar, and they called them wait a minute vines. And you got hung up in them, and you'd be all caught up in
This is in pitch black.
pitch black. I thought we would never get back alive. And then one other quick story. Let's show you that. That was one of the longest nights.
Oh, I'm sure.
I learned to pray a lot during those times.
I bet.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And then my third experience was another experience I had. Boy, so many. Was a guy who became a really good friend to me. I'd only known him for 3 weeks. He was like a good friend.
Yeah.
And we were the night before he died in a firefight. But anyway, that night before, he came to me and he asked me. He says, "Doc, they call me Doc."
Yeah.
And he said, "Doc, you don't seem to get scared when we're in these firefights." And I said, "Oh, I really do." And he said, "Well, what's the difference?" And I said, "Why?" I said, "I don't know." I said, "I have somebody I can go to when I'm under pressure like that." And he said, "Well, who do you go to?" And so I told him about my faith in God and that type of thing. And he says, "Well, how do you get there?" And that very night, I was able to share with him how to have that kind of a relationship with God, so he wouldn't be afraid, and so he could have that kind of relationship. So he prayed right there. He whispered his prayer right in the middle of the trail where we were having some supper, some sea rations and things like that. And he came to faith that very night. Well, little did I know the next day we were going on a mission. There was 400 of them. There was 25 of us. And we were splitting up. He went one way with his trail, with his squad. I went another way with another squad. There was only one medic for all of us, and then one squad stayed back here to secure everything. Well, as he was going off this way, we were going off this way, and all down toward a stream where we knew they were. And about that time, we got down almost to the stream on my side, and all of a sudden I heard a firing going on over here. And it wasn't long before the radio guy called over here and says, "We need a medic right away." And somebody's been shot. And I'm thinking, "Oh no." And I had no idea, who it would be. And so now we have to come back up this hill and go down over this way here. On the way back up this hill, for 3 hours, I have to be